Welcome into college football smothered and covered. My name is Barrett Salee. I appreciate you checking out the show today. A little different time. We're going in the afternoon on this Wednesday. A lot of different reasons for that. Specifically, for those who don't know, I am also doing the Braves Report podcast for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. So a lot on my plate from a podcast perspective, also the writing for Outkick. So trying to figure out the balance, trying to figure out how to do this most responsibly for you so you can have the best content that you deserve. Now, a lot of that does depend on my schedule too, and how to figure out all of these moving parts. So I appreciate you checking out the show, and I appreciate your patience as I try to figure out from a timing perspective how to make things work. Like I say, every single episode, I appreciate you guys checking the show out. And no, we are not competitors with anybody here on college football smothered and covered. I want you to listen to Cover 3. I want you to listen to the ESPN folks do their separate podcasts. I want you to listen to Josh Pate. I want you to listen to SEC Unfiltered. I want you to do all of that because college football is what, kids? What is it? It is the most undercovered sport in the entire country. And I don't think there's any more proof of that than what we're doing right now with the NBA and soccer and all this other stuff. I don't care about that stuff. And generally speaking, from my interactions with college football fans, you don't either. I think actually the Braves Report podcast that I'm doing and this show, College Football Smothered and Covered, those two fan bases cross over, I think, more than any other group of fans in the entire country. But enough about that. We do have a big show today. We're going to talk about Payton Thorne and Hugh Freeze and Auburn and what all of that means. We're going to put all those puzzle pieces together, and there are a lot of puzzle pieces that we need to put together in terms of the entire Auburn situation. We'll also talk about the Atlantic Coast Conference. There are some interesting teams, and we're going to dig deeper than Florida State and Clemson. We're going to dig deeper into some of the teams that might have a chance to spoil the party, might have a chance to be in that ACC Championship game. We're going to exclude Miami from this as well because, as you guys know and you guys have seen, we've talked about Miami enough on this show. But we're going to talk a little bit about two teams specifically that I think are dark horse candidates to make that ACC Championship game and potentially steal a playoff spot. Long shots, but not no shots. Like I said, we are going to be talking about Auburn. This is a shirt from Breaking Tea. Freeze warning. Hugh Freeze up and down last season, almost beat Georgia, almost beat Alabama, probably should have beaten Alabama, and lost to New Mexico State. It was a very frustrating season, but could that change? Because there is a freeze warning in Auburn. You can get this t-shirt from Breaking Tea, breakingtea.com/smothered and covered. It's not just Auburn things. They've got shirts from every single college football team that you could possibly imagine. And for those who don't know Breaking Tea, they go viral. When something goes viral, they come out with it like that. But you have shirts like this as well. Freeze warning. You have legacy shirts. For the Braves, you have Tom Glavine and John Smoltz and Chipper and all this stuff. So go to breakingtea.com/smothered and covered. You can see all of that. And trust me, they've got plenty for you. All right. This is from 24/7 Sports. And for those of you watching on YouTube or Rumble or Twitter or Facebook, you can see this quote. But if you're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, I will give you the gist of this quote and what is going on in Auburn. Hugh Freeze had some media availability a couple of days ago, and he was asked about his quarterback situation, and he said Payton Thorne is going in as the number one quarterback. Okay, I get that, but he also mentioned that Holden Geriner, Hank Brown, and newcomer Walker White also have a chance to win that job. And it got me thinking, and here's the quote: Payton is going to be in it. Freeze said of the quarterback race. It's going to be hard to say as excited as we are about Walker White. The other three, the majority of the reps come fall camp. But I'm really excited about Walker too, so we'll see. It's going to be hard to get 4. We've done a good job getting them all a bunch of reps this spring. Yes, it's almost impossible for Auburn to get all 4 contenders reps that are meaningful in spring practice. So I don't think there's any doubt that one of them is going to transfer. You just don't. You can't go 4 deep into fall camp. What's interesting to me, though, is that he said Payton Thorne is still in it, because a couple months ago, it seemed like he was married to Payton Thorne, that he was, I wouldn't say the unquestioned starter, but he was going into spring practice as the guy to beat. From this quote, it doesn't really sound like that. To me, it doesn't really sound like that. It seems to me like Hugh Freeze is sort of hedging his bets a little bit with Payton Thorne. And he better. Because if Payton Thorne is the starting quarterback for the Auburn Tigers, then Auburn is in trouble. And more specifically, Hugh Freeze is in trouble. Hugh Freeze is the guy who develops quarterbacks. He made Chad Kelly a star. He made Bo Wallace a star. He made Malik Willis a star. Payton Thorne was a disaster last season. Last in yards per game among qualifying quarterbacks at 135. 10 interceptions. Last among qualifying quarterbacks in passer rating at 129.14. There weren't a lot of great quarterbacks in the SEC last year. There were good ones. Obviously, Jaden Daniels, Carson Beck. But there weren't that many. And Payton Thorne was basically bringing up the rear in most meaningful categories. And not necessarily the rear, but in the lower third of actual starting quarterbacks. Quarterbacks that started, 8 or more games, I think was the stat I looked at. So if Auburn goes into fall camp with Payton Thorne as the leader, then something went really, really wrong, because it does not take a lot in the Hugh Freeze system to be successful under center. Generally speaking, Hugh Freeze is a good enough coach where he can put anybody back there and they can at least be successful. And that didn't happen last season with Payton Thorne. So they've got to find their Bo Wallace. They've got to find their Chad Kelly. They've got to find their Malik Willis. And after one season, is there anything to suggest that Payton Thorne is it? I'd say no. So what that means to me is that Hugh Freeze has to hit that transfer portal hard. That spring transfer portal window is going to be enormous for the Auburn Tigers and for Hugh Freeze. And looking back at it, last season, it wasn't that crowded. I think a lot of coaches misevaluated last offseason what the portal windows would look like. Lane Kiffin wasn't one of them. He got 3. But I think Hugh Freeze was. I think Nick Saban was. Obviously, Nick Saban ended up with Tyler Buckner. Hugh ended up with Payton Thorne. There were a couple others here and there, but there weren't that many. Now, in Hugh's defense, the Grayson McCall thing kind of fell through last winter. Okay, I get it. You were kind of stuck with whatever there was in the spring window, but I think it's going to be more crowded this year. I think the spring portal window is going to be chaos like you've never seen before. A lot of it has to do with all of the legal things that have been going on in our world of college athletics. But put all that stuff aside, I think these coaches have a little more information to treat the portal windows differently, to provide a little bit of balance. And the way they do that is that they make every different position open, which means Hugh's got to say that about Payton Thorne. But they're going to know what they look like in the system. All these quarterbacks are going to know what they look like in the system. They're going to know who's getting the first team reps in practice. The coach doesn't have to say it. We all know it. They know it. So I think because of that, you're going to see mass chaos. And part of that is that there are a lot of schools that had changes after the winter portal closed, and you can't do anything about it. And a lot of it has to do with all the legal stuff that's going on. But if you're Auburn, if you're Payton Thorne, if you're Hugh Freeze, it's not just picking who is number one in fall camp. It's also picking who can provide stability and calm fears within the program. Because I'll tell you, there are a lot of fans, there are a lot of members of the Auburn family that are very concerned with where the program is right now. That New Mexico State loss burned. The way the Alabama game ended, yeah, it was Alabama. They made the playoff. Everybody knows that should not have happened. It should not have happened. So I know the Auburn fan base very well, and they are frustrated. And they know, hey, Hugh Freeze is not supposed to make things difficult. Things are not supposed to be excruciating watching the offense. In fact, they're supposed to be fun. It was not fun last year. And so if Payton doesn't become that guy, if he wins the job, or if Hugh Freeze has to go to the portal and whatever happens fails, then it's going to come on Hugh Freeze. Auburn people aren't patient. We all know Auburn people are not patient. So they don't see that offense markedly improve next season, either with Payton Thorne, with one of the others contending this spring, with Holden Gerner and that crew, or with somebody they get in the spring transfer portal window, then Hugh is on thin ice. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to get fired. Look, again, it's the offseason. If you want to talk about coaches getting fired right now when you don't know what the rosters are going to be, you're an idiot. I am an idiot, but not because of that. But if the offense struggles again, if the quarterback doesn't become Auburn's version of Bo Wallace or Chad Kelly at Ole Miss or Malik Willis at Liberty, something's wrong. Something's definitely wrong. I don't know how you fix it, but I do know it's not supposed to be this difficult. So that jumped out to me last night when I was looking through some stories throughout the course of the day that popped up. Speaking of stories that popped up, my buddy Chip Patterson, I love Chip, over at CBSSports.com. Chip does a great job. No ill will towards any of those dudes over there. They are fantastic. It's list season. He puts up questions for each ACC team this spring. We know about Florida State and Clemson and all this other stuff. But there we go with Virginia Tech. I love Virginia Tech. And the topper for this, for Chip, I think is fantastic. Can the on-field product match the off-the-field buzz? And I know what you're thinking. You're like, what buzz? It's Virginia Tech. Oh, you haven't been paying attention to Virginia Tech. Well, let me tell you about those Hokies. Schedule definitely sets up well. Offense looking very good. Now, there wasn't a huge reason to watch Virginia Tech in the second half of the season last year. I get it. Like, it's hard to watch all of these games. It is. I understand it completely. I have 3 TVs down there. Generally speaking, I also bring an iPad, and I still don't know what's going on all over the country. So it was hard to keep up with Virginia Tech. But I'm going to give you one name, 2 words, Kyron Drones. He's the Virginia Tech quarterback, and he is going to be a difference maker for this Hokies team. He was awesome against conference opponent, tied for tops in yards per attempt at 8.5, second in passer rating at 152.87, 200ths of a point behind Jordan Travis. It was that close in passer rating in conference games. He rushed for 818. That was second among ACC quarterbacks behind Thomas Castellanos. I get it. That's hard to do. Second in essentially a half season. Not bad at all. So get to know him. If you see him pop up on Heisman boards over the course of, I don't know, the next 2-3 months, maybe take a look at putting some money on it. I'm not saying, sound advice. I'm not saying this is something you should take to the bank, but you're going to get some value with him, man. And why? Okay, so why? Here's the thing. Virginia Tech is in a very easy conference because let's take a look. Let's just say you look at the top two teams, Florida State and Clemson. They're loaded with questions. Miami's Miami. There's nothing stable about the ACC at all right now. But Kyron Drones is there. And so what does it take for Virginia Tech to make the ACC Championship Game? I'd say a 3,000, 1,000 season from Drones. And guess what? He almost did that last year. He could have done that last year if he was the starting quarterback from the outset. Hell, he almost had 1,000 yards on the ground total without being the opening day starter. So, yeah, I think Virginia Tech can live up to the buzz. I think when you talk about the ACC this year, going into the season, the question will be, if not Clemson, Florida State, who? Because Florida State has massive roster turnover, and we don't know if DJ used that guy. I think he is. Others might disagree. That's fine. Clemson, we don't know if Cade Klubnik's that guy. We don't know if Dabo's going to be flexible with the offense. Miami, Cam Ward's there, but it's just Miami, right? So why not Virginia Tech? They're loaded up front, both sides. Got playmakers, especially at quarterback. So I love that Chip brought this up because you might not feel the buzz right now, and that's fine. Could you feel it by August? Yes. In fact, I think you will feel it by August. Speaking of feeling it by August, Preston Stone. Who? Preston Stone? Don't know who. Oh, that's the SMU quarterback. Oh, yeah, SMU is in the ACC this year. Get to know that name. An injury ended his season towards, I guess it was in November. Kept him out of the AAC Championship game, kept him out of the bowl game. But you're already seeing some buzz around this kid. He's been around a long time. He's been a breakout star in the AAC. And Chip Patterson from CBS Sports asked this, is Preston Stone poised to be the ACC's breakout star in 2024? He goes from AAC to ACC. Yeah, he could do that. He could put that on his mantle. SMU is loaded after winning the AAC. They've got a fantastic coach in Rhett Lashley who understands the portal. They understand completely how to give financial backing to make this a successful ACC program, and they've got the quarterback that can do it all. And I know there are a lot of folks who will say, and have said, hey, going from Group of Five to Power Five, it takes a few years. And going back to when TCU and Utah made that jump 15 years ago, I remember both those coaches saying, yeah, I mean, it took 3 or 4 years. Well, yeah, it did then. Now, does it take that long? I don't think so. You can rebuild a roster very quickly, and SMU has a chance to do that again after spring practice. And B, it takes your home, where you live. What neighborhood are you in? It's like one of those things. What is your property value going to do? In a bad neighborhood, if you redo your house, you give it a full renovation, does it matter all that much? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Your property value goes up. Your house looking pretty good. Resale value jumps. However, if you take over a foreclosure in the good neighborhood and you renovate it, now you're cashing in. And that, to me, is, I think, where SMU is. They got a pretty solid house. They're in the right neighborhood. They're getting their quarterback off of injury, and they've got dudes everywhere. They've got speed everywhere. So that's why I think Chip bringing up Preston Stone is something that if you're paying attention to college football right now, you might know him, but you might not. And so spinning it forward, again, sort of like what we talked about with Kyron Drones and Virginia Tech. What happens if SMU catches the right upset? What happens if Clemson and Florida State suffer the wrong upset? Could SMU make the ACC championship game in year one? Abso-freaking-lutely. They could. Would that be a compliment to that program? and Rhett Lashley? Yes. Would it be an indictment of the ACC? Also, yes. But with Preston Stone coming back, that SMU team can be dangerous. I'm talking really, really dangerous. So keep an eye on that. I think that'll be fun. That'll be one of those things that throughout the course of the season will be something to keep an eye on. Can't wait to watch the ACC this year, even if it is a complete bloodbath and everybody beats up on each other. Totally cool with me. That is fantastic entertainment as well. A reminder, breakingt.com/smothered and covered, breakingt.com/smothered and covered. Talked about Auburn a lot in this show. You can get this shirt to support your Tigers. Freeze warning, year 2 under Hugh Freeze. See if you can get the job done. breakingt.com/smothered and covered for all of your viral t-shirts at Breaking T. Wear the moment. That'll do it for this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. Hey, appreciate you checking out the show. Reminder, follow us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, anywhere you get your podcasts, video-wise, audio-wise. Let's be honest. If you don't know how to follow a podcast at this point in your life, I probably shouldn't have to explain it to you. However, I do want to explain to you this. If you don't like this show, please go leave a review. I want to know what you don't like. I want to know what you like. I want to know what you want to see from College Football Smothered and Covered, because things have changed a lot in this space since SEC Smothered and Covered went away, since the plug was pulled for reasons that still am not happy about. But from 2018 to 2024, it's a long time. So please let us know what you like. Let us know what you dislike. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.